Good morning. It's 1st of February. India's union budget is going to be presented for the upcoming fiscal today by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. Stay with us on D-Day India through the day as we bring you continuous and the most comprehensive coverage of the union budget. I'm Shubhendu with my colleague Bunwan.
A very good morning to you, Shubhendu. A very good morning to all the viewers. Well, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman is all set to present her 9th consecutive budget under Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government. So what are the expectations of the people of India, the Indian industry and all stakeholders from the union budget? Experts will join us in a bit with perspective, and reporters will also join us from ground to talk about pre-budget expectations from the respective states. Let's get started. Visuals now of Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, flanked by Minister of State in the Finance Ministry, Pankaj Chaudhary, and our entire budget team on Budget Day ahead of the 9th consecutive budget to be presented by the Finance Minister. This is where the Finance Ministry has shifted last year, Kartavya Bhawan, and first visuals on your screen of the Finance Minister holding in her hand the Bahi Khata in red, which is of course a change that has been brought in from the leather briefcase days. The Finance Minister is going to present the budget once again in a paperless format, which is of course going to be showing the kind of strides that India is making in the technological sector. It is going to be a huge shout out for Digital India. The Finance Minister in front of the cameras showing the Bahi Khata in red, which has all the budget documents, which she is now going to present the first copy of to President Draupadi Murmu as she heads to the Rashtrapati Bhawan.
Those visuals coming in live from just outside of Kartavya Bhawan. That's where the new Finance Ministry is established. So a lot of new aspects of the budget that we'll be taking a look at. There is, of course, that Bahi Khata that was in spotlight. Once again, when she reaches the Parliament, there would be another opportunity when with her entire team, Finance Minister would be with the Bahi Khata before presenting it in the Parliament. Here, let us also welcome special guests who are joining us in the program. Let me welcome Mr. Prateek Jain, taxation expert from PwC India. We also have with us Deepshika Sikarwar, Senior Editor, Economic Times, joining us here in the studio. And Professor Sachin Kumar Sharma, DGRIS, also joining us in the studio. And we continue to map the key points. These are, of course, visuals coming in from Ministry of Finance, Kartavya Bhawan 1. That's where the Finance Ministry is located. Just moments ago, Finance Minister posed with the Bahi Khata with the team in front of Kartavya Bhawan, and now heading to Rashtrapati Bhawan as we speak. Those visuals we'll play for you once again, where Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman in front of a new office in Kartavya Bhavan, posing for a picture with her entire team. And in the spotlight, the Bahi Khata, the tablet that contains in the digital form the union budget, will be presented in less than a couple of hours at 11 a.m. IST sharp. And there, Finance Minister in the frame with her entire team.
Finance Minister flanked by her budget team. Next to her is Pankaj Chaudhary, Minister of State. Also Anuradha Thakur, Economic Affairs Secretary. Then there is Arunish Chawla, DPAM Secretary. There is V. Anant Nageshwaran, Chief Economic Advisor behind the Finance Minister. There is also K. Moses Chalai, Department of Public Enterprises Secretary. Besides that, there is V. Vual Anam, Expenditure Secretary, M. Nagaraju, Financial Services Secretary, and Arvind Srivastav, Revenue Secretary, all present there as the entire budget team poses in front of the cameras. The red Bahi Khata in focus in the spotlight there. It contains a tablet from which the Finance Minister is going to read the budget speech, her 9th consecutive budget speech in the Lok Sabha. This is the place where all the action is. We'll keep streaming those visuals to you to track all the movements of the budget team and the Finance Minister herself. It is expected that the entire budget team now moves to the Rashtrapati Bhavan, where she will meet President Draupadi Murmu, and from there the entire team goes to the new Parliament building for the cabinet meeting. The cabinet is going to pass, in a sense, the budget documents, and then they move to the Lok Sabha for the budget presentation.
That's right. And a quick welcome to our guests, if we can have them on the screen as well. Prateek Jain from PwC India, Deepshikha Sikarwar from Economic Times, Professor Sachin Kumar Sharma from RIS. Good morning and welcome to all of you. Professor Sachin Kumar Sharma, if I can come to you first. With reference to the economic survey that came, a very interesting paradox of 2025 that the economic advisor talks about. India's strongest macroeconomic performance in the backdrop of a global system that no longer respects that kind of macroeconomic stability. How do you see the global environment and India's own aspirations in this budget?
First of all, thank you very much for inviting me on this very important day. About if we see the global situation at the moment, the globalization now take a very back seat. There is a fragmented multilateralism. Countries who are champion of free trade, they becoming the protectionist. Yes. So in this whole background, India economy is in a bright spot with a very fundamental macroeconomic indicators we have. And then, given the situation that...
Hold your thoughts. These are first visuals on your screen of the budget team led by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman heading to the Rashtrapati Bhavan to meet President of India, Draupadi Murmu. And you would remember that early in the morning, the Finance Minister had left her residence and moved to Kartavya Bhavan. A short while back, we showed you the first visuals of the Finance Minister holding the Bahi Khata in red, containing the tablet from where she will read off the budget speech in Parliament at 11 a.m. in India's lower house, which is the Lok Sabha. And from there, from Kartavya Bhavan, where the Finance Ministry is located, the entire budget team now heading to Rashtrapati Bhavan, and after meeting the President, they will head to the new Parliament building for the Cabinet meeting, where the budget would be approved, and after that, the presentation will follow in Lok Sabha at 11 a.m. All eyes on the budget presentation to see how it gives a further boost to India's growth trajectory. Remember, we are already celebrating a Goldilocks moment, so to say, with high GDP figures and record low inflation figures. So it remains to be seen how this budget is going to give a boost to all sectors, from agriculture to manufacturing to exports to services, particularly the MSMEs, and considering the external sector, exports is going to be a lot in focus, and also new technology and deep tech like artificial intelligence.
And those visuals coming in live from Rashtrapati Bhavan in Delhi. The entourage of Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has reached Rashtrapati Bhavan. As the tradition, she first left from her home to the office located in Kartavya Bhavan. From there, these visuals coming in live from Rashtrapati Bhavan, Finance Minister with the team will meet President of India, Srimati Draupadi Murmu. Thereafter, the team will depart for the Parliament, where in Parliament, Finance Minister will meet her cabinet colleagues just ahead of presenting the Union Budget for 2026-27. Those visuals of the imposing Rashtrapati Bhavan and Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman's team, cavalcade, entering the premises of the President House, Rashtrapati Bhavan. In just moments from now, she's going to meet and call on President Draupadi Murmu. As we look at these visuals, Professor Sharma, the point that you were making about a unique global situation where this budget is going to be presented for India's future.
Yes, if I continue on that particular point, if we see the global situation, it's not very optimist across the world. Countries are going towards the protectionism. But here the India has taken a different path. We are going for various regional trade agreements. We have recently with the India-EU FTA. Then we, in the recent 5-6 years, we have free trade agreement, you can say, with more than 35 countries, 35 to 37. European Union itself, 27 countries, then India, EFTA, then India, UK. And with most of the developed country, we have done this FTA, and it will
mother of all deals, as
mother
the EU
of all the deal,
happened, yes.
And it will lead to export diversification. Important point is that in the economic survey, it also called for the Atmanirbhar. And Atmanirbhar doesn't mean that living in the isolation. We need to live, we need to also open our door, but from the point of view of the strength. So in this respect, even economic survey says that we need to focus on our priority sectors, so that other countries should not misuse or sometimes the blackmail in terms of the supply chain, like in the critical mineral or semiconductor. And then we should also focus on our competitiveness, and that's how the whole budget I think will be more focused on the infrastructure. And here one point also, when we are looking at the budget, we need to see the whole perspective, the continuity of the budget for the last 10, 11 years. And this continuity will help us to make towards taking India towards making it a developed country. That's how I look in this situation.
Right, it's interesting that it's a Sunday today, and for the first time, Deepshika, in India's post-independence history, is a union budget being presented on a Sunday. It's been presented in the past on a Saturday when then Finance Minister Yashwant Sinha had presented one. But interesting times you've seen.
Absolutely.
All these years, the budget. So what sort of a feeling does this give you?
I think the signal is like, okay, February 1 is sacrosanct, Sunday or Monday. We will have it on February 1, nevertheless. So I think, yeah, very interesting.
Yeah, and
we all are being made to work on
yes,
Sundays.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So headline expectations really from the budget.
So, my take on what this budget probably would be doing is, we are facing a very unprecedented geopolitical climate right now. And if economic survey, what it said is any indication, the idea would be to build on what has been done so far. Now, if you look at the past 1 year, number of measures, big reform in form of GST, personal income tax cuts happened in the last budget. So, idea would be to build on this momentum going forward, because this uncertainty is not going away altogether. It is going to continue in the coming year. We are also having these big trade deals. So how do you sort of ensure that your domestic industry remains shielded from this uncertainty, and also how can you enhance its competitiveness to take advantage of these trade deals? Also, continuous emphasis on infrastructure creation and the capital expenditure, because private investment is still not sort of kicking in as was expected. So while the demand boost came from GST, but whether it can translate into this private investment cycle, probably budget would try to attempt to sort of provide some measures which would sort of kickstart. So more of what has happened in the past. I don't expect any like Mike on personal income tax, so I don't think salaried taxpayers could have anything much to expect from this. But definitely, I guess on there is a lot of buzz in the capital markets on some corrections on capital gains, or some tax clarity for foreign portfolio investors who've not been like really sort of coming in a big way in India, which the survey also flagged.
Right, on the taxation front, let's also connect with Prateek Jain, taxation expert from PwC India, is joining us online. Prateek, what expectations are you tracking on that front? There is a lot of hope that growth-oriented budget tradition is going to be taken forward. On the taxation front, what can one expect?
I think Deepshika has already mentioned, we are not expecting too much on personal income tax, right? I mean, last year budget, there was a large relief which was given to common taxpayers, and with the GST cut, collectively between income tax and GST, I think more than 2 lakh crores is what the government gave already. And there is hardly any fiscal room available for that. Having said that, I think the government has tried in the personal income tax for the last 2-3 years to make the new income tax regime more attractive. So I'll not be surprised if they tweak the concessions, or maybe bring in 1 or 2 incentivization for the new tax regime to become more attractive, but that will not be very significant. On the other part, on the customs duty, we are expecting some rationalization. We have currently 8 different slabs under customs, so it could be reduced to 4 or 5. Some of the items might see custom duty reduction. If you recall, in the last budget, things like bourbon whiskey, bikes, etc., we had reduced the duty. At that point in time, there was a discussion, more active discussion between India and US for the trade agreement. Now, in view of India and EU FTA, which has just been signed, of course, it will become effective in 1 year's time. You might see some tinkering. You might see some of the items where the custom duty rates might be reduced. There might be some incentive for, of course, Make in India and exports. Economic survey does call out these 2 areas as major sort of thrust areas for the government. So some kind of a tax incentive for new investment is possible. And also there is a possibility that units operating in special economic zones who do not have export market right now will be incentivized to sell more in domestic market. There, the duty might be on the raw materials and all of that which is imported. So on which whatever duty is foregone, they might have to pay that when it is cleared from SEZ. If this happens, it will be a major benefit for the SEZ segment, and it will unlock a large amount of domestic capacity which we have. So nothing earth-shattering, frankly, on the tax, but I think the aim would be to incentivize more manufacturing and find newer ways of doing exports.
Prateek, the new Income Tax Act also comes into play later in the upcoming financial year. So big reform also in the pipeline.
Yes, so the new Income Tax Act will be effective from 1st April this year. And therefore, in view of that, it's not expected to have any major change. The idea is to get into a more simplified tax regime. You might see some simplification on the forms and TDS and those kind of this thing, just from an ease of doing business perspective. And of course, there'll be more digitization, and that would mean that for a common taxpayer, it'll be much easier to do compliances. So some of those things you might see, but again, nothing major expected on income tax front.
Right. Prateek, building on the point that you had made earlier, that customs duties may come down in terms of the slabs that we have currently. In the past, many budgets, I remember seeing that the customs duty have been increased on certain components or certain final products just to give a boost to Make in India. But here again, there has to be a balancing act because a lot is covered in the FTAs too. So only what remains outside the fold of these 22 FTAs that have already been stitched by India so far would be really in the realm of tweaking. So do you think that a lot of thought is going to go into how to ensure that there is Make in India getting a boost through any tweaks in custom duties, while ensuring that there is export competitiveness and also import competitiveness, because we cannot produce everything. We need to import as well. That is also required by the Indian economy. So in that sense, how do you see it?
Yes, you're right. So what is likely to happen, and Finance Minister has gone on record to say that they are looking at a big bang customs reform now. So what does this reform mean? The first thing which it means is that there should be simplification of this rate slab, the structure. So you might have 3 or 4 structure, the lowest duty for the raw material, then slightly higher for the intermediary products, and then slightly higher for the finished product. That's how the government has gone about it. If you recall, for electronic manufacturing under phased manufacturing program, first the duties were increased on mobile phones, then it was brought down to things like batteries, then it was brought down on things like components of batteries. So idea is to give duty benefit for raw material and components more. So I don't think that there'll be custom duty increases in a lot of cases. Of course, there could be sector where domestic industry might need some more protection, and therefore those might be selective. I also think that there will be incentive which will be given to things like EVs, lithium-ion batteries, semiconductor, and so on. So idea is to see which are the sectors that we want to sort of incentivize, and accordingly the customs structure will follow. So and also a lot of exemptions are going away under customs. So we are expecting some calibration on those exemptions as well, and some of the exemptions might go away, and some of the exemption might continue in some form.
Right. Deepshika, as you mentioned, so working Sunday for journalists, for the government. If it be of any consolation, the stock market's also open.
More importantly, the Member of Parliament.
Yes, absolutely. And the stock market's also open. It is just open and showing some positive trends. If you can have those trends on the screen. Updates coming in from the Indian Stock Exchange. The Sensex has risen over 100 points in the pre-opening session. Nifty is upwards of 25,300. Indian markets open on a positive note. February 1st, Union Budget. It's a Sunday. Traditionally, markets are closed on the weekends, but today they're open. And Deepshika, a good sort of touchstone to also see the manner in which the industry and the economy is responding to the announcements of the budget through the market ratings as well. Would you say?
I think there is a lot of expectations in the market. And one point which I wanted to make was taking from what Prateek Jain just said. You know, probably this is one of the rare budgets where neither are the, Aam Aadmi expecting any individual tax cuts, nor is corporate India expecting any major tax cuts. Yes. So for that, in that sense, for the finance minister, I think this would be one of the rare occasions where
she has a lot of elbow room.
Yeah.
Right. Let's go across to Shama Mishra, who's tracking the markets. Like we're telling you, the markets have opened on a positive note. Shama, is that according to the trend that we've seen on budget days? What do you make of it? Are you there with us, Shama?
Well, yes, Monmon. Can you repeat the question?
I was saying that is this the trend that we've seen in the previous budget days as well? Though this is, of course, the first Sunday that a budget is being presented. But is this akin to the trend in the past?
Well, yes, and since it's a budget day and we understand that all the experts, all the traders would be keenly watching this, they will be keenly watching all the announcements in different sectors. And as you are mentioning that there are so many sunrise sectors, and there are sectors that need, there are sectors that have potential and need investments and need further attention from the government of India. So these sectors would be keenly watched by the traders. And like we were talking earlier when the market was not open, we had discussed that markets are likely to open on a weak note, and markets are trading on a weak note. Both NSE Nifty and BSE Sensex, both of them are trading on a weak note. Now, if you are sectors, definitely there are gainers, and in that we can see that the defense sector, the pharma, the healthcare, private banks, auto, infra, these sectors have gained, and they are likely to remain strong throughout the day. Apart from that, metal, commodities, PSU banks, even realty, IT, media, these sectors are trading in red. So we understand that unless some sort of policy announcements or investment announcements come on these sectors in these areas, they are likely to trade in red throughout the day. And we were continuously saying that as and when there will be announcements on these sectors, the market experts, the traders would be taking their call, taking their action similarly. We are also seeing that there are various sectors which the government of India is focusing, and these sectors include the new tech.
All right, Shama, thanks for getting us those updates from Mumbai as the markets have opened. We'll be tracking all the updates as they're coming in. We'll also track the expectations from you in just a bit. Professor Sachin Sharma, talking about the global environment, the union budget, of course, all eyes are on the budget at home, but also outside, given the number of partnerships that we've signed, the free trade agreements, and also India being one of the fastest growing large economies. How the budget articulates the growth story ahead would be important for the world to watch as well.
Yes, if we see that how the situation will now move onwards, how the things will turn around. One thing is important that as I mentioned earlier that we have a lot of FTAs we are going on. Now there is opportunity, there is market diversification opportunity. Now the budget what can do, budget can increase the focus can be in terms of the infrastructure, in terms of increasing the competitiveness of the various sectors. Now, if there is opportunity, then all the stakeholders, is not only the government, but also the businessmen, MSME sector, they also need to grab this opportunity. And for this, the budget can provide the basic infrastructure in terms of, if we see the government expenditure over the years, more than 50,000 lakh crore rupees being spent on the
So we'll interrupt you for a moment. Those visuals are coming in from Rashtrapati Bhavan now. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman with some of our team members. That's an important traditional meet where Finance Minister with a team meets President Draupadi Murmu. And we are on standby for those visuals of that meeting of Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, in her hand the Bahi Khata, the tablet containing the digital copy of the Union Budget that Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman in just a short while from now would be presenting in the Parliament. That would be at 11 a.m. about 90 minutes from now. And these visuals from Rashtrapati Bhavan, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman about to meet President Draupadi Murmu. And those visuals now on your screens, President Draupadi Murmu being greeted by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, and both the leaders together pose with that Bahi Khata, the document, the budget document in a digital form in a tablet.
So President Draupadi Murmu together with the entire budget team led by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman posing in front of the cameras. This is India's Rashtrapati Bhavan, and from here in a short while from now the entire budget team shall depart for the new Parliament building, where a cabinet meeting is going to take place, where the budget is going to be approved, and then the budget team heads to the new the Lok Sabha, in fact, for budget presentation. The budget team led by the Finance Minister engaged in an animated discussion with the President of India, Draupadi Murmu. Just to tell the viewers a little about the budget process, well, India's budget officials undergo a strict quarantine process, and that ensures absolute secrecy before presentation. There are many officials, printers and staff that are isolated, and the papers then move to the printing press, and the entire process starts with a halwa ceremony, and that's typically 5 to 7 days prior to the budget presentation. So a lot of hard work, Shubhendu, goes
Absolutely.
into this, a lot of secrecy around the budget documents for valid reasons. And of course, it's a working Sunday, like we've been saying.
That's right, and adds to the interest and excitement around the budget, I think.
Yes.
Deepshika, also this is Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman's 9th budget. How do you also see the kind of legacy that she's taking forward? She's been there mapping India's growth story in this decade.
If you actually see her budgets and if you see her trajectory as a finance minister, I think she's one finance minister who's faced unprecedented challenges.
That's right.
COVID, it's like once in a century kind of a challenge that sort of confronts any country or the world, so to say. So that apart, then other geopolitical conflicts. So it's been one after the other, and it's sort of continuously going on. Even this budget, comes at a time when India faces unprecedented challenges, considering the geopolitical situation. 50% tariffs on Indian exports to US. So I think, and if you look at the trajectory, number of reforms, indirect tax reforms, we've had very significant GST reform just last year. Personal income tax, major, relief which was given last year. There's a new regime, exemption-free regime. On direct taxes, there's a new law. So a lot of cleanup has happened. Corporate income tax also, considerable relief to corporate. So, lot of movement forward, and now I think in terms of reforms in the tax structure, apart from, you know, some tinkering here and there, very little left on direct taxes front, and which I think in a way she hinted also. And the focus is obviously left onto the customs side, you know, which not much, something had happened, some tinkering was done last time. But I think the focus would be on customs in this budget. So, lot of things have happened despite all the challenges that the India faced, and ninth budget, so definitely a lot of expectations. Maybe she'll pull a rabbit out of her hat again.
Many also say, calling it, it's like the first budget of the second quarter of the 21st century. And given that there is a long-term vision of Viksit Bharat and developed India by 2047, so
absolutely.
even symbolically, perhaps, this would be very
Yes,
significant.
absolutely. A very significant milestone in that sense.
Deepshika, since you are a journalist who've been tracking the budget over the years, tell the viewers a little about the secrecy for valid reasons around the budget preparation, how the officials are quarantined for almost a week now, and they're not allowed family visits, they're not allowed emergency exits.
Oh, nothing
there
at
are
all,
on-site
nothing
doctors,
at all, nothing at all.
CISF patrolling is there, or security is there, and the mobile phones are not allowed. Like I said, there are mobile jammers present. So
no mobile phones, you cannot carry your mobile phones. You're not even allowed to carry a piece of paper. I mean, you're neither allowed to carry it inside or bring it outside. No
so how is
contact
life?
with
How is
family.
life really for the budget officials
You know, and there
for
have
that
always
week?
been like very interesting anecdotes and very interesting stories around all this secrecy when the budget printing happens. You know, how last minute there were changes in the past years, you know, and how the finance minister himself had to go down, and I'm talking about this like some years back, you know, to calm people, because printing had already sort of started, and this last minute changes, you know, people were really stressed out. So very interesting. They're sleeping there, they're eating there, and everything is happening there without any contact with their families or friends or anyone. So definitely a very stressful period, I am sure, for them. But whenever you've had conversations around, everyone's sort of excited, and you know, they're all part of this humongous exercise called the budget making. So I think that really sort of makes it a very interesting stay, I would say, for people who are there inside.
Right, Mr. Jain, if I may come to you on corporate tax, if you could tell us on whether there are any expectations. Does the private sector want lesser corporate tax?
Look, I mean, everybody wants lesser income tax, but you know, our discussion with the top industrialists and CEOs suggests that if the choice is between tax incentives and clarity, then they will go for clarity. I think there is a consensus that the headline rate for India, corporate income tax is.
Can we have Prateek Jain on the screen, please? Yes, please go ahead.
There is a consensus that the corporate income tax rates in India, the headline rate is moderate. It is as competitive as any other country in the world of similar size and demography, and therefore not major concessions which are expected. However, there is a discussion on ease of doing business, and therefore can the processes of TDS and TCS compliance, can that be simplified? So that's one expectation. Second is, economic survey also talks about that there is a difference in taxation today in equity and debt instruments. So can there be, and today in the Economic Times front page, the SBI chair had said that there should be equity between a deposit and shares as well. So can the government look at taxing the debt instruments and the deposit in the same manner as equity? That's another expectation. And then, of course, there are many others in terms of ease of doing business and fast-track demergers, tax neutrality there, and so on. The only other incentive, perhaps, which they're expecting is a higher deduction for R&D expenditure and creation of AI infrastructure and so on, because India, is the country where the R&D expenditure is one of the lowest across the major economies in the world. And therefore, can you get private sector to spend more on R&D and AI is another area where industry is expecting some concession on.
Right. Also, Prateek, we're curious about the possible reforms or incentives in the context of taxation. Ever since a certain Western power has weaponized tariffs and taxation, so the word almost is seen in a difficult negative connotation. I mean, can things be done for smaller businesses in India to be made more empowered? We are looking for opportunities of an export-led growth. A lot of FTAs perhaps will come into play in the coming financial year. So in that sense, just sort of ease things up for smaller businesses, startups. Could one expect some relief in that context?
Yes, absolutely. And I think, as I said, that rather than giving tax benefit or tax concession, I think the focus of the budget would be to see how we encourage ease of doing business. How do we simplify compliances? I did talk about TDS, TCS. There's major simplification which is required. For MSME, I mean, how can they access capital better, right? So can there be some mechanism for them to access capital better? The threshold for income tax exemption for some of these smaller businesses, can that be increased? Because clearly, I mean, most of the taxes come from bigger players, and therefore, how can you unshackle the smaller players from plethora of compliances and requirements? I think that's really the focus. So I'm expecting at least an announcement of intent for MSMEs and encouraging them to find their feet and find newer markets outside the United States of America.
Right. Coming to the manufacturing sector, Mr. Sharma, we know of the production-linked incentive schemes. They are focusing on 14 sectors. There is automobiles, electronics, medical devices, telecom, white goods, which is ACs, refrigerators, drones, renewables by 2026. Now, we know that the idea is to enhance production, to attract more investment and to boost exports. Now, do you think that there will be a broadening of the ambit here?
And before that, those very important visuals of the meeting of President Draupadi Murmu with Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, and as is the tradition, she is giving her a spoonful of dahi. It's seen as auspicious before an important task in Indian traditions. Deepshika, would you like to add to that? That's a tradition that is catching up now.
President Murmu started this, every time Finance Minister goes to present her the budget, dahi chini, and, traditionally in our families, anyone going for a big, event or anything big, we feed them dahi chini, one spoonful of that. So she's brought in this tradition in the Rashtrapati Bhavan. So very interesting sort of touch there,
It fits in with those elements of Bahi Khata and bringing
exactly.
in.
So very auspicious start really to the day with that gesture of the President. Sweetened curd, dahi chini is what that is, being presented to the Finance Minister there to mark an auspicious start to a very important day, the budget day presentation, and now the cavalcade of the Finance Ministry, of the entire budget team led by the Finance Minister, leaving the premises of the Rashtrapati Bhavan and heading to the new Parliament building, where after the cabinet meeting there will be the budget presentation in the Lok Sabha at 11 a.m. So we were talking about the PLI schemes and whether that can now expand to other sectors, for instance, EVs, electric vehicles or batteries.
Thank you very much. Let me put this in perspective about the PLI. If you see the manufacturing sector in the previous years, it was not grown that much, and there were complaints of cheap imports are being coming. So what the government had did, the government has started focusing on the manufacturing sector, and the PLI is a tool. And through this tool, the government is providing incentive to manufacturing sector so that there can be help in the export-led growth. Second, to enhance the capacity. This is the two. And then many other sectors also being reviewed, included in it, and strengthen the capacity of this whole industry, the manufacturing sector. Now, because PLI is a tool, but when we see the whole ecosystem, how the government is enhancing the manufacturing or export-led growth, then we have seen the comprehensive macroeconomic policy in terms of how the government is providing concessional credit to the manufacturing sector, because the cost of capital in many developing countries very high, to how to bring it down for the SME sector. This is the one important sector. Second point, what Mr. Pratik Jain also mentioned about the custom duty. Earlier there was invert duty structure where the raw material coming at high duty and the finished were coming at low duty. So the government in previous year also they have rebalanced it, and now because in many manufacturing sector we are importing raw material and then we are exporting it. Even if you take the example of the PLI, main example is the mobile smartphone, we are exporting it. So this is the important things which we need to bear it, that the government in continuity for the last 11 years, we are focused on the manufacturing sector, and that's why the government is focused on the logistic cost through infrastructure across roads, air, maritime. So across the government has spent more than 50,000 lakh crore rupees. Even in agriculture, which also food processing industry also part.
So just coming to agriculture, Professor Sharma, all important sector, contributes to about 1/5 of the national income, but it employs, the workforce constitutes over 46% of India's workforce. The growth, if you look at the average growth we're looking at in the past 5 years, about 4.4%. How do you see the manner in which the budgetary allocations, budgetary inputs have been able to articulate the challenges of the agriculture sector? And in that context, what can we expect ahead? What does it need to sort of address the key concerns that it has?
Also in this point, I'll just give a macro picture about the agriculture sector, especially in the...
those visuals again, let's turn to them. From Kartavya Bhawan, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has now reached the Parliament premises. This is where in the Lok Sabha, in a short while from now, at 11 a.m., Finance Minister would be presenting the Union Budget for 2026-27. And those visuals of Finance Minister entering the Parliament premises, there will be an occasion for her to pose with the Bahi Khata, and those visuals coming in from the, and that's the visual with the Bahi Khata, the Union Budget of 2026-27, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, all set to present her 9th budget. Alongside her, Minister of State for Finance. Next to her, it's going to be a record 9th budget. From here, Finance Minister is going to meet her cabinet colleagues just ahead of presenting the Union Budget. But a historic moment there. Professor Sharma, if you look at the visuals and see the importance of it, your thoughts on this, the 9th budget of the Finance Minister with the entire team, another opportunity to take forward India's growth story.
Yes, this is the time, for the government it's almost 11 years. Now 22 years remain for 2047. So this is the already the foundation being laid down. Now it's time that all the stakeholders work towards making India a developed country. And coming back to your point on the agriculture, even we have to take the bigger picture on the agriculture sector. When we only see the budget only for the Ministry of Agriculture, it will not give the full picture. In the Ministry of Agriculture budget, it's only about few major programs, that is the PM Kisan, where the government is giving money to farmers' bank account. Then Bima Yojana is there, and many other programs. But many expenditure is on the agriculture, not come under the Ministry of Agriculture, but other department. One is the fertilizer subsidy is much bigger than even the budget. The food subsidy component is other. Then the government also focus on the agriculture infrastructure fund, because many times what happen, the farmers have good produce, but they are not able to do the marketing. And then for the storage, to have the logistic and to make them export competitiveness, this export infrastructure fund is also playing a very important role. So these are some of the points that we need to look about agriculture, not only the Ministry of Agriculture,
Right.
but Ministry of Animal Husbandry. That is the main component.
All that contributes
All that
into
contribute to the
sector
agriculture.
as a whole, and we are on your screen showing those visuals from earlier today. That very warm moment between President Draupadi Murmu and Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. President Murmu, as is the tradition in India, feeding the Finance Minister dahi chini, that's curd and sugar, an auspicious gesture ahead of any important task. And in the next visual, Finance Minister with her entire team meeting President Draupadi Murmu, and also in focus is the Bahi Khata, the tablet containing the Union Budget for 2026-27 in a digital format.
Yes, the focus now shifts to the cabinet meeting, and in 1 hour 10 minutes from now, the Finance Minister will rise to present India's budget for 2026-27 in the lower house of Parliament, the Lok Sabha, and all eyes on the budget announcements. Well, Deepshika, on the issue of skilling, how significant is this? Because every year we see that skilling gets some allocation and a reasonable amount of focus, because every year the demand is increasing for various skill sets. So in terms of allocations or apprenticeship programs or a fund for skilling, including for the women force, or should I say the women tech force too, besides women force in general, do you think that there will be something significant in the budget?
I do think there would be something for skilling or training youth, training women, because if you see past few years, one of the key challenges that has sort of confronted the India Inc. is finding the right hands to work. So while we have people coming out, youth coming out of educational institutions with degrees, but they're not employable, and that is a constant has been a constant complaint. And now, especially in the backdrop of AI coming in, there is definitely a much more need to reskill, reinvent, and how can policy sort of facilitate this? Also, you have to make the youth employable while they have the degree. So, PM internship scheme, there's also a skilling program which is in place. There's been some reorientation there. So, probably taking it forward further, maybe fine tuning it further, maybe a new revamped apprenticeship scheme to ensure that, the youth, they have the degree, but they also have the training and the right skills to fit into the jobs that they are sort of looking for or aspiring to be in.
Right. Professor Sharma, how do you see the kind of investments that have been made in the sector of emerging technologies? We've already seen the first semiconductor chip being produced in India, and other plants are coming up, both in terms of skilling and the infrastructure in terms of data centers and the vision that the government has. How do you see the path and vision that has been created so far? Because that could give us a cue of what to expect in the budget ahead.
Yeah. If I connect this question to your first question when we started this, that how this whole global system is fragmenting. Now, in some past few years, many countries now focus on some of the priority area like critical mineral, semiconductor. Why it happened? Because some countries have more monopoly. And then in times of crisis, they are try to weaponize those monopoly and to achieve some strategic thing. And that's why the Indian government also focus on the semiconductor, the critical minerals sector. These are the very important if we wanted, India wanted to become developed country, because these are requirement for the technology. And the second point is about the AI, which is going to play important role across all the sectors. There also you need semiconductor, you need chips, you need rare minerals as well. And this is very critical even if we wanted to scale the operation of the AI. The one point which Deepshika also mentioned about the skill, there also when we are wanted to scale up the AI across our population, there these technology, this mission, critical mission, the semiconductor, these are extremely important. We can't ignore this, and that's what I am looking forward in this budget, that these are the emerging technology where the government will spending will be much more.
And Deepshika, a fortnight later, the Global India AI Impact Summit is also going to be there.
Yes, absolutely. That's also there on the horizons, and it's a big event in the tech world, which everybody is looking for. We have a lot of global players sort of coming in, and they would be outlining what their plans for India are, and India will also sort of unveil, what is the status of the developments in AI in India.
And the theme of self-reliance also continues in emerging technologies, sovereign AI.
Absolutely. And see, in the current, global situation that we are in, you cannot be completely reliant on any outside supply forms. Your supply chains have to be insulated from any kind of shocks. So I think that is what the Atmanirbhar Bharat has been all about. So to insulate, to shield our supply chains, our citizens, our manufacturers from any supply shocks or, weaponization of supplies or imposition of tariffs, so on and so forth. So that is, I think, what Atmanirbhar Bharat is all about.
Right. Coming to you, Mr. Jain, on how can India boost its AI supply chain, like Deepshika was saying? Is there a need for clarifications on that front, and do you expect any in the budget?
Not too much of clarification, but the focus on AI has to be more horizontal, right? So I would like to hear that how AI is getting integrated in the new education curriculum, for example. How are we getting more institutes to offer courses on AI and upskilling and so on? How is government using AI for tax administration and otherwise? I think some of those discussions need to start. One specific point which I'd like to make not in relation to AI in particular, but in relation to emerging technologies and opportunities that India has. One is on data centers, another is on GCCs. On data centers specifically, lot of billions of dollars are in the pipeline to be invested in India, and it is somewhere connected with the AI story as well. There we need some clarity on taxation, how the data centers will be taxed, whether they'll constitute a permanent establishment, and so on.
Yes.
There is a set of clarification required. And then GCCs as well. I mean, India is emerging as the hub for GCCs, which is Global Capability Centers. We already have around 1,800 GCCs. It cannot, there is a lot of potential to have more, which will create employment. But there also around movement of people, if people are moving from overseas to India, and a lot of Indians who have been abroad because of visa and other issues, they want to move back to India. So how do you facilitate that movement back to India rather than sort of people opting for, let's say, Hong Kong or Dubai, is another area where some tax certainty is required.
Absolutely. So a clarification on what really is the scope of permanent attribution, and like you said, how to retain talent and corporations in India. Well, Akshay Dongre is joining us from India's Commerce Ministry in New Delhi. Akshay, if you've spoken to any of the Commerce Ministry officials, how are they now really standing by for this budget? What are their set of expectations really from this budget, considering a lot is being talked around the exports sector with so many FTAs having already been seen?
And they just signed that mother of all deals just a week ago, actually.
Well, absolutely. absolutely. As far as the ecosystem is concerned, it is quite charged as far as the mother of all deals, as you rightly mentioned, Shubhendu, that the free trade agreement with the European Union that has 27 countries on its own, and other several countries have already signed a free trade agreement with India, creating a market of over 2 billion people as far as this corridor is concerned of the free trade agreement with India. So already hopes are quite high as far as the policies that will enable us to manufacture more, export more, and earn more profits to boost our economy from this particular budget. Other sectors that are also vying for positive budgetary allocations as far as today's fiscal budget is concerned is besides the Commerce Ministry, the Defence Ministry, because reminding our viewers that this is the first budget after Operation Sindoor. This is the first budget after India took that massive action against terror infrastructure inside Pakistan, and we have seen what kind of investment that needs to go into defence can yield positive results as far as India's external as well as internal security is concerned. So that is also going to be quite important. In fact, I have been trying to speak to some of the defence officials who are expecting a rise in the allocation for defence sector, especially the Indian Air Force, followed by the Indian Navy and the Indian Army. As far as modern acquisitions are concerned, the entire modernization drive that has been going on may get a push, and all of this is being done keeping in view the self-reliance mission of Prime Minister Narendra Modi that he has been pushing ever since he came to power, in which most of the onus as far as the modernization drive is concerned is on the private players as well as the PSUs, but the Indian players. As far as the guns are concerned, modern equipment such as drones, modern equipment that have to be integrated into fighter jets, be it the ones that we are developing or the ones that we are importing. So it's an entire ecosystem that's hoping for a positive outcome from today's budget, and hopes are quite high as far as the Commerce Ministry is concerned, as well as the other ministries, especially the Defence Ministry, as far as their budgetary allocation is concerned.
And Akshay, particularly, I was staying with that the big trade deals that have been signed by India. What have you learned from the people, the businesses, entrepreneurs who are directly engaged in these trade negotiations? What do they expect? What is the manner in which they would like to be empowered? Because they are going to operate in a very volatile global scenario.
Well, the global scenario, yes, absolutely, it has been volatile, but as Prime Minister Modi has said, and he gave the slogan during COVID, that was Aapda Mein Avsar, which means that you can find opportunities even in an emergency or in a crisis situation. This is exactly what's happening. We saw a trade tussle with the US, with the tariffs coming in over the Russian oil, other kind of problems that the Indian trade was facing just a few months back, and it all seemed like doom and gloom. But the kind of turnaround that India has done as far as signing this FTA with the European Union, creating an entire market of over 2 billion people, along with other countries that we have already signed FTAs with, be it the UK, be it New Zealand, other countries around the world. So the Indian manufacturers are quite hopeful, because now you have gotten access to this huge market that is not a market of global south that is still developing, but we are talking about markets of quite developed countries that have high GDP. The people where expect quality goods, but are willing to pay the buck for it. And as Prime Minister Modi also said during the signing of the FTA, that now the manufacturers will have to focus on the quality of the products, because it's only going to be the quality that will keep the buyers hooked to the products that are made in India. So we can expect a positive move in that direction as well, as far as providing the manufacturers with more capability, more funds, more equipment to deliver on that promise that India is making to the rest of the world.
Yes, Akshay, also a lot of expectations on the customs duty front, considering that it is expected that the number of slabs will fall from 8 to maybe 5 to 6, and some other changes like greater compliance.
Well, yes, we are hoping for that, but Munmun, we can only expect all of this after the budget is announced. So there are going to be quite a lot of speculations and expectations, but as we know that it's there are limited resources as far as the allocations are concerned. The government will also have to focus on rebuilding as far as our indigenous sectors are concerned, our industries are concerned, for which the government will have to make certain compromises. But yes, be it the custom front, be it other fronts, there is going to be a maximum effort to ensure that the businesses grow and the Indian manufacturing industry especially grows leaps and bounds, and we can expect some positive outcome from that front in today's budget. But as of now, it's all speculation. Everyone is now waiting for the budget to be announced to see that what exactly is being offered by the government as far as this mega budget is concerned for the country.
Right. Akshay, as we map expectations of different sectors, since you're at the Commerce Ministry, startups in particular, their role in India's economy, the manner in which the economy empowers them, the budget empowers them, has also been a focus. So, and again, also in the export-led growth vision, the startups again have an important role to play. So in that sense, the reforms that we've seen in the past consecutive budgets, perhaps that momentum could be taken forward for the entrepreneurs as well.
Well, we are hoping for that. The entire AI, be it the AI industry that is, churning out a lot of startups in the country, other kind of industries, especially the new startups that are expecting a positive sort of policy in this budget to push the businesses further. Cutting off the red tapes, cutting off bureaucracy as far as the entire process is concerned is going to be quite important. Plus funding, government has already launched a number of programs in which the founders of these startups can actually get loans relatively much easier at much lower interest, so that they can focus on building right now instead of getting the investment. But the policies are going to be quite keenly watched by the AI as well as the startup ecosystem in the country. And noting the fact that in the last few years, India has become one of the countries that has shown maximum numbers of new startups that include unicorns and many other in the range of areas. So we are expecting in the startup ecosystem, the startup industry, especially the owners of these startups, be it in tech or in manufacturing sector, in AI sector, in semiconductors, in parts, in defense, in aviation sector. Everyone is hoping for positive policies to make their dreams come into reality.
Right, Akshay. Thanks for joining us from outside the Commerce Ministry in New Delhi.